gaming.
Yeah, since yesterday I've been seeing it. Oh my god, that was creepy.
Oh,
Oh.
Nope. There's nothing there.
This man just laughed at us.
ASMRGamingNews. Hey, if you're gonna watch this review, everyone, I am chewing one piece of bubblegum. Forget to mention that at the intro like I usually do, sorry. But enjoy the review. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new ASMR Movie Geek review. So, I got a new ASMR movie review for all of you. I just got back from watching It Chapter 2 at the movie theater. Got to catch an early screening, which I was actually pretty surprised, but really nice, comfy leather seats, by the way, air conditioning, all that good stuff. So, fun fact, just like John Wick 3 at the entrance when I was paying for the tickets for the movie, there was this lady that was asking literally everybody what their age was and to like provide ID to prove that they were over, you know, the age of being allowed to see this movie, because it's R-rated. So I immediately saw that and I didn't want to, you know, go through all of that again. So I just went to the guy that was next to her, and this guy wasn't even asking anyone, so he just let anyone go in. I saw a bunch of like kids that were like 12 get in to see the movie, and I think they paid at this ticket booth instead of going to the other lady at the ticket booth next to him, because she was asking everyone. She asked this guy next to me that had a full-on beard and was there with his wife. They looked like they were 45, and she was like, you're over 18 or 17 or whatever, right? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm 39, my wife is. And then like he said his wife's age or something, and she was like, what are you saying? And I don't know, it was weird, honestly, to ask people like their age before they can go see a movie. Like, clearly they're not teenagers, so just let them go in and watch the movie. But I guess movie theaters have to do that because they don't want to get sued, you know? If a kid that looks like an adult accidentally sneaks in there, you know, they can get in trouble or something, I don't know. So, first part of this review is going to be spoiler free, so no worries, I'm just going to talk generally. And then the second half, I'm gonna, you know, go spoilers a few times, just to warn you that there are going to be spoilers. And this is an R-rated movie, and it is a scary horror movie. So if you don't want that, I suggest you click away from this, because this is a scary movie, and legit scary. Like, it's not one of those movies that are like, it's scary and it ends up being okay. No, this one is scary. There's like some really dark scenes and things. And the movie is very, very long, so I'm not going to go through everything, or else this would be the longest ASMR video on the channel. So, first off, my thoughts on the movie. Really good. I enjoyed it. It was a good conclusion to the, you know, It series, if you want to call it that. The first and second movie. Good conclusion. It gave me what I wanted. The music. The musical score, fantastic. So many great pieces. Really, like, make the atmosphere of the movie feel alive. You hear stuff, familiar scores from the previous movie creep up, and there's a bunch of new ones as well. So, definitely for a horror movie, you want to have that good music, and the musical score for this is really haunting, really good, great sound effects and everything. So, that was one of the strongest points of the movie. The length, the movie is like 3 hours long, for real. I went into the theater, I came out, it was like dark, and I was like, whoa, if it's dark in summertime, you know that's when you've been in the theater for a long time. So, yeah, it's basically like 3 hours long. crazy, very, very long movie. So before you go in, you know, kind of like Avengers Endgame, you might want to use the bathroom, you might want to grab all the popcorn, drinks, and stuff like that. Because this movie is going to take a while, and honestly, I saw some critics and reviewers complaining about the length, and I feel like I kind of have to agree. The movie is maybe 20 or 30 minutes too long. I feel like they could have cut some parts at the beginning of the movie, because it did start kind of fast and right into the action, and then it gets a little bit slow, and then slow, and then slow, and then builds back up again. So, I don't know, I'm not a director, but if I was, or a writer, I would have kind of sped up that a little bit, maybe cut some scenes to just help with the pacing, because... Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, I'm chewing a piece of watermelon bubblegum. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I'll clip this at the start, so hey, if you're gonna watch this review, everyone, I am chewing one piece of bubblegum. Forget to mention that at the intro like I usually do, sorry, but enjoy the review. Okay, so back to the review. Yeah, I feel like the first movie was paced very, very well. And this one, it is much longer, so the pacing feels a little bit off. Like you want stuff to start happening, and it doesn't start happening until you start getting a little bit tired. And I feel like horror movies should aim for maybe like an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes max. And this one goes on for like 2 hours and 50 minutes or something, so very, very long. The acting. Okay, so right off the bat, Bill Hader, if you guys know him from Saturday Night Live, Bill Hader, fantastic actor. That man needs to be in more movies. James McAvoy, great actor as well. Jessica Chastain, one of my favorite actresses. She's in one of my favorite movies, Interstellar, by the way, so whenever I see her in a movie, I'm just really, really happy about that. She's great. The only thing is, and the kids in the first movie were better, and I feel bad saying that, but it's true. I mean, I feel like the actors in the first movie, the kids, you know, they had such great chemistry amongst each other as, like, actors, and as people acting in the actual movie. Like, their characters really meshed well together, great chemistry, really good, like, friendship dynamic, and that was kind of missing from this one, so... I don't know, I was a little bit sad, I have to say. So there are scenes where, I'm not spoiling anything by the way, but there are scenes where characters, you know, interact and stuff, but it's never at the same level as how you feel when you watch the first It movie. So that's something that I wanted to mention in the review. What else? If I have to score It Chapter 1, I would give it an 8 out of 10. So that's like a 4 out of 5 rating, really good rating for a horror movie. And if I had to rate It Chapter 2, I would give it a 7 out of 10. And the reason for that is it's just slightly below It Chapter 1. And the reason for that is the length, it's pretty long. And the actors, you know, the adults in this movie, there are great actors, but the characters in the movie, they just don't have that same charm that the kids in the first movie did. Like, they brought something magical to It Chapter 1. Just how they interacted and stuff, it was great. But as adults, it missed some of that stuff. So honestly, if someone asks me, would you rather watch It Chapter 1 or It Chapter 2 right now, I would say It Chapter 1, like, for sure. Like, the pacing, the length of that movie, the characters, the jokes, all the stuff. So good, because in the transition to adults with new actors in this movie, some of that charm gets lost, and I feel the movie suffers just a little bit. So that's my review of the movie. Really scary, by the way. Did I mention Pennywise is in it? Yes, Pennywise. Creepy movie. Now, would I say the first is scarier? That's to be determined, honestly. The first has some scary scenes, and this second one has some very scary scenes, and also a bunch of, like, really dark and disturbing scenes. I don't really want to get into it right here, but let's just say there's a few that make you go like, ooh, like wow. Like for real, pretty uncomfortable things going on here. I have to say though, even though things were disturbing and scary, the level of violence was pretty low. Like, I feel like maybe the first movie had a little bit more violence and gore in it, which is kind of strange. But this one, there is violence, there is some blood and stuff like that. But it feels like they toned it down just a little bit, but they kept the disturbing and dark parts. So you might see something disturbing happen, but it'll cut away, or it'll like show you the aftermath or something, so it's slightly less gory, like in terms of blood content compared to the first one. So I don't know what they did, if they decided to change it up a little bit, but it's still a very dark movie, even though it has slightly less disturbing imagery. Let's see, what else? Okay, we talked about the music. Oh, the cinematography, the shots in this movie, great. Oh, there's some really up close claustrophobic shots. There's some great angles they do when they're like moving about in different like scenarios or areas in scenes and things. They do some really cool thing with like close-ups and zooming into characters' faces from like sides and then zooming into the front to get their reaction. So for a horror movie, all those like quick cuts, very scary. There are some jump scares, so just be warned. It's a horror movie, though. There are going to be jump scares. People in the theater were actually flinching a few times because of the jump scares being pretty scary. Some of them you could see coming, and some of them really caught me by surprise as well. But scary, yeah, for sure. It's a scary movie. Let's see. Just trying to go over all the non-spoiler things first. Yeah, the actors like Bill Hader, Jessica Chastain, they added a lot to the movie. Like, I feel like if the movie didn't have them, it would have suffered greatly because most of the other adult actors were a little bit dull compared to their childhood parts. Like, not spoiling anything, but there are scenes in this movie where it switches back to them as kids, and you get to see the actors from the first movie. And those scenes are amazing, so good, but they only last like a few minutes, and then it switches back to them, you know, as adults. And each time that happened, I was like, no, please go back to when they were like kids hanging out, you know, doing fun stuff. Because the adults just weren't on the same level. Like, I feel like the kids were like at a 10 in terms of like talent and chemistry, and the adults maybe were at like a level 6 or 7. So each time it switched, it really hurt because those scenes were so good from the first movie, and like there's a bunch of stuff that they show and you're like, oh yeah, that was great, or like, yeah, that was really cool. And then they like, you know, reminisce about old stuff, and it's nice to see that the child actors from the first movie returned. But yeah, that was definitely something that I think other people noticed as well. Like, the quality shifted whenever it went back to them as kids to when they were adults. And I think I covered most of the non-spoiler stuff now, so we're gonna go into spoilers. So that's my non-spoiler review. I recommend go watch it. If you enjoyed the first movie, you have to see the second one, see how everything finishes, get to know what happens to your favorite characters, stuff like that. It's not for kids though, as people say, but for real, this movie has some pretty dark scenes. I don't even know if some people would understand what's going on if you're 8 years old, 10 years old, stuff like that. There's pretty disturbing things going on in this movie. But I guess if you go with your parents or whatever, it's fine. But for sure, this movie is one of the, you know, darker horror movies. It kind of tricks you into thinking it's just a scary horror movie with like a clown. But no, there is some other underlying issues going on that are pretty dark. But good movie. Recommend seeing it. Not as good as the first one. Kind of long, kind of drags on. And the actors, not as good as the kids, but still good. So here we are in spoilers. So I'm not going to go through everything, or else this review would be hours and hours and hours. But let's just say that the movie starts with some disturbing scenes. Like, whoa, my mouth was like open, like for real. The movie starts out really violently. We see characters like getting beat up really, really bad to the point of having like disfigured, fractured face, getting knocked and thrown off a bridge into the water below, and then getting eaten by a Pennywise on the shore. It's really brutal, really dark, really disturbing. So it starts like that, basically, like really hard hitting. Like it hits home. You're like, whoa. And then it like starts to introduce us to all the characters from the previous movie. Like, you know, we get to see all our favorites. But the thing is, this is the problem. A lot of people in the theater, I noticed, kept asking like, wait, who's that? Oh yeah. Who's that guy? Oh yeah. Like, wait, is that, oh, okay, yeah, that's him. And they'd be like, oh, is that Bill? Oh, okay, yeah, that's Bill. Oh, is that Beverly? Oh, okay, that's that character. Oh, Richie. Okay, yeah, that's Richie. So you'd have a lot of characters, and people would try to like guess who they were as kids, and they didn't really do a good job in the movie showing you like this guy is this guy, this guy is this guy. So it was kind of weird. Like, I wish they could have done that slightly better to help you like know who was who, because they try in a few scenes like to tell you like this guy was this kid in the first movie, but honestly it was a little bit confusing at first, because you see one guy has like the same hairstyle as one of the kids in the first movie, and then it ends up not being him but being another guy. So you really have to remember the names, and there are a lot of kids that became adults, and I don't know, some people since the last movie came out might have forgotten. People in the theater forgot, so I was hearing a lot of like confusion from some people that kept asking like, who's that? Was that the kid with the, oh yeah, that was that kid, okay. So they kind of introduce everyone, and honestly, the beginning part of this movie, after like the intense intro, kind of drags on for a bit. It's like the mini TV series or mini series that they did in the early 90s. You know, there was an original It that was like a mini series that was later a movie, and then from that they make the modern It movies, and that one dragged on a lot when they were adults, and I feel like this one falls into the same trap. It kind of drags on a lot at the beginning. Like, it focuses on one character for 10 minutes, and then on another character for 5 minutes, and then another character for 5 minutes, and they're just doing really boring things, and they're trying to introduce us to these characters, but I don't know, it just drags on a little bit, and I don't know, it was a little bit boring, and most of these characters have very bland kind of like personalities, with the exception of a few of them. Bill Hader's character, Richie, is probably one of the best ones. Like, he's hilarious. If it wasn't for him, the movie would be probably very boring in the beginning parts. So, they all group up, they all decide to go fight Pennywise. They forgot what happened in the first movie, so they have to go get their memories from their childhood. They have to like obtain objects or things that have meaning to them to kind of like awaken their memories, and then they can go fight Pennywise in the sewers. Meanwhile, Pennywise is fighting and, you know, killing people around the city or around the town of Derry like he has in the past. And apparently if they don't finish what they started, they will die. So there's kind of like an intense thing going on. They don't want to be there, they're very scared, but they're sticking through it to defeat Pennywise. And let's talk about Pennywise for a second. In the first movie, you got to see Clown Pennywise so much, and that was awesome. But in this movie, you barely get to see Clown Pennywise. Like, Pennywise in clown form shows up just a little bit at the beginning, and in certain parts in the middle, and then it's always it in other forms then. It's never as Pennywise, so that was slightly disappointing just because the clown is very iconic, but I know it's trying to follow the books and all the different forms of it. But I don't know, it would be nice to just have seen the clown more, even more imagery, stuff like that. I felt like the actor that portrays it as the clown is so talented, so it would be nice to have seen him a little bit more. He shows up at the end, but more on that later. So there's a bunch of scary, frightening scenes in the town, some really intense scenes, some really dark scenes, by the way. Some people in the theaters were like, whoa, that's dark, as we were watching it, like, yikes, type of thing. Some theaters, have crowds that react, and mine was a crowd that reacted to scenes, including the jump scare scenes. There are a few. A few of them got me real bad. Like, I was, like, flinching in the seat, like, ah. Like some really scary ones, scary monsters created by like it, or it as a different monster type form, like just really scary stuff. There's like the grandma, old lady that some people got really scared of in the theater. It was a scary scene for sure. But yeah, as the movie goes on, there's just characters, they're trying to interact, but I feel like their interactions are not as good as the chemistry the characters had in the first movie. Like, they're adults, they forgot about their childhood, they're just starting to reconnect, make jokes together. But this is where the movie has a problem. Now, the first movie, most of the characters are together and they're always interacting, and there's like that great friendship dynamic. In this one, at a certain point, they all break up and they go their separate ways. So like, you see everyone going in alone to kind of like face their fears and get their memory of what happened in their childhood back, and like obtain an object that has meaning to them. So all of them are going around getting items on their own, and there's no character development between characters in this point of the movie. So I did not like that, because it's basically like an hour of the movie is spent on this. Like, we get to see what happens to one character for 10 minutes. As he tries to find something, we get to see what happens to Beverly for like 10 minutes. And there's character development for those characters, but not character development for all the characters together as a group. So then later, when they all decide to group up at the end, go after it together in the sewers again, it's like, you guys aren't really friends. I mean, you just met up. You know you were friends before. You got your memories back from your childhood, but you're still kind of acting like you don't know each other. It's weird. There was like, I don't know, the actors are good. Like, don't get me wrong, James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader, but the kids in the first movie, man, that's like next level, like, chemistry. And these actors as adults, I feel like something was missing, something was off. Maybe they needed to get some other actors in there or something. Write the dialogue, have some slightly better scenes, because for a 3-hour movie, it ended with you feeling like some of these characters were just there, part of the group, and they didn't really interact as well as the children version did in the first movie. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. Or at least that's how I feel, of course. This is my review of the movie. You might feel differently. If you do, that's perfectly fine. So what happens is, basically there's this whole plot line of some ancient, like, Indians that were on this land before, and before, like, Derry was inhabited by all these people, it was there. They tried to capture him. They did some kind of ritual. They weren't able to capture him. And now they're going to try to do that again. So they go back into the sewers, they have their items, they go fight it, and let me tell you, the first part of this movie starts really strong. The middle part kind of drags on, and then it picks up after they start, regaining their memories, getting stronger. This is where the movie gets good. Like the final half, they're in the sewers, they're all together again. They're going to fight it, and let me tell you, this final quarter of the movie, final half, whatever you want to say, is amazing. It's so good. It's probably the most rewatchable part of the movie. I watched the original It movie or miniseries, and the ending for that is crazy. You get to see its, like, true form, or his different form than what his clown form is. And it was like some creepy thing, and I was wondering how they were going to show it off in this movie. Well, let me say that I was not disappointed. So they do this ritual of capturing Pennywise, and it does not work at all, and then everything goes bad. Like everything ends up going the worst way possible. He like lures them in to his like mind games. Everyone gets like separated. There's like some scary moments, some funny moments. By the way, Bill Hader, he's a comedian, so even in some of like the dangerous scenes, he'll be cracking some jokes, and he has a few jokes that are just hilarious in some of the most scary scenes in this movie, so I like that. But they go through a bunch of different trials as they're fighting it at the end of the movie, and it became like this huge clown spider, like clown head spider body with like all sorts of like tentacles and things. It was really creepy, really scary. He was trying to kill the characters. It was like, it felt intense. There was a lot of like strobe lighting effects, flashing lights. Looked fantastic on the big screen. I recommend watching it at the theater just for this scene at the end, because the entire fight scene at the end was really good. It felt like an actual fight scene, like you were going through something. So they end up defeating it, of course. He does not win. They basically make fun of him over and over again, how they're not afraid of him, how he's like small, how he's just a clown and nothing else, and he kind of like shrinks and gets smaller. And they eventually like, if any of you watched Indiana Jones 2, The Temple of Doom, they basically do that thing where they reach into his chest, like pierce through it, grab his heart, and then they all like just squeeze on his heart till it explodes. So that was a pretty violent scene, but there are a bunch of other very, very violent scenes in this movie. Lots of like stabbings, lots of slicing, lots of like really scary dismemberments, and a bunch of kids get killed in this movie. We get to see 1, 2, 3 kids, possibly, yeah. Technically one of them was, from a previous movie. We get to see dead Georgie, get killed yet again in this movie as like a zombie kid, so that was very creepy and intense. So there is some violent scenes in this movie, pretty out there. You don't normally see that in horror movies, but yeah, some pretty disturbing, scary scenes. There was this one scene with like a headless spider crawling around, really scary. It kind of reminded me of a face hugger from the Alien series, so that was pretty crazy. Just a lot of like scary monsters and things like that in this movie. So yeah, some great jump scares. But one thing I have to say about the jump scares, the first movie, I couldn't see the jump scares coming. In this movie, I could see when the jump scares were gonna happen. Like, it would linger, it would like play the scary music, and then all of a sudden there would be a jump scare, and I was like, there's gonna be a jump scare right now when they open that door. And then there was a jump scare when they opened that door. Whereas the first movie, there were some scenes where all of a sudden was a jump scare, or they were sitting in like a classroom and then stuff got really creepy and then there was a jump scare. Like, you weren't really expecting that in the first movie. I don't know, it was slightly scarier. I have to say the first movie felt a little bit scarier than this one. This one felt a little bit more action heavy in the middle and the end when they were like facing their fears and fighting Pennywise. It felt a little bit more action horror than like thriller horror. Like the first movie was more like scary, mysterious, you didn't know what was going on. This one was slightly different, but they're both good in their own right. So yeah, the movie ends. There's a pretty happy ending. Some sad things happen though. Some people actually die. So yeah, at least 2 original characters from the Losers Club end up dead in this movie. So yeah, yikes. One of them commits suicide, but not for reasons of depression or anything like that. He just wanted to save his friends. Apparently, they explain it later. It happens at the beginning. Pretty dark scene. I'm talking like 13 Reasons Why bathtub scene type thing going on. So that was actually shown, so that was pretty intense. And the ending, one of the main characters gets killed. I'm not going to spoil everything. You guys have to go watch the movie, but yeah, one of the main characters gets killed at the end. One gets killed at the beginning. Pretty sad to see that happen, but other than that, they kind of like have a happy ending to this movie, which is kind of nice, to get a happy ending, sort of, for a horror movie, so I like that. So this was a good movie. I actually feel like watching It Chapter 1 again just because that movie was great. I felt like the pacing in that one was better than this one, and the characters and interactions and stuff. So the first movie, slightly superior, but this one is still very, very good. So you have to see this one if you watched the first one and enjoyed it. And honestly, it was a good movie. I think they did a pretty good job. Definitely better than the original miniseries or movie that came out, so I'm happy about that. But it is very, very long, and those adults, not as good as the kids, at least in like their interactions with each other. I guess adults are more, socially awkward than kids that are just open to hang out with each other and, banter and have all sorts of fun. So, yeah, that's my review. Let me know in the comments if you watched it or if you're planning on watching it. And yeah, thanks for listening or watching this ASMR Movie Geek review. This has been a review for It Chapter 2. And thank you. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you liked this review and want more videos like this one, let me know in the comments. I might have some more like this coming out in the future. So thanks again. If you want to help support the channel on Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/ASMRGaming. And with as little as $1 a month, you can help support the channel and the creation of more movies and games and like reviews and things just like this one. So thanks again, and I will see you all next time.